In this video, we'll be showing how Xarkin Studio can be used to create motion that meets a specific expressive goal. In this case, we'll create something we'll call a sad walk. We'll start in Blender. We'll clear the stage and I'll add a Mixamo character named Dave. I only need the pose. Once we have the character on the stage, we can open Studio by selecting Xarkin Studio Launch from the Object menu. In the short dialog that pops up, we'll turn off Auto Map and confirm that we have the correct armature, and we only need one frame to start. With Auto Map off, we'll be placed in the mapping editor so that we can map the segments contained in the armature in Blender to the segments in the humanoid model that Xarkin provides. Since Abe has already been mapped, we can cursor over the various joints to see what the mapping is, or we can look to the far right to see what has been mapped. Had we used Auto Map, Xarkin would have recognized the Mixamo armature and automatically mapped the segments for us. Studio opens on the Character tab and we can see the height information derived from the mapping, as well as an estimated mass for the character. This mass can be adjusted to provide the actual mass for the character. There are also controls for modifying the distribution of masses and even changing mass information for specific segments. So if the character had big arms and skinny legs, you could reflect this through changes here. We'll leave things as they are. We'll start our walk with a transition from a pose to a walk. Studio has a collection of standard motions that we can load from the cloud. We'll replace all frames on the timeline with the frames that Xarkin will generate. We can hit play or move the cursor on the timeline to view this motion. There are various timeline options. Full will play the motion at full speeds. The two blue triangles on the timeline show the selected interval we are going to use to make some changes to the motion. With the interval tab selected, we'll make a few changes to this motion. First, let's add about a half a second to the duration, adjusting it from 1.2 to more than 1.7 seconds. This will slow the pace of the walk. Next, we'll pitch the head forward from a pitch of 4 degrees to 9 degrees. This will have the character looking towards the ground more. We also want the shoulders to sag a bit. We can do this by adjusting the shoulder slope from 20 degrees to 28 degrees. We also want the arms to just hang a bit more, so we'll go to the Cycle tab and adjust the arm swing back. This will reduce the swing, and in combination with the increased slope will create the motion we are after. We will now add a walk cycle to the character on the stage by positioning the cursor to the end frame of the timeline and adding a walk cycle. In this case, I don't want to replace the motion on the stage. I want to add the motion after the cursor and request that this be blended so the motion is smooth. And this is what we get on the stage. However, we can see that after the slow transition to a walk that we created previously, the character speeds up, which isn't what we want. So we'll adjust the interval markers on the timeline to the walk cycle and go to work. First, we will once again lengthen the duration to slow the walk down. Next, we'll show the mapping of the character so that, as we make changes, we can discern their effect more easily in the display. Now we'll apply the duration after refreshing the mapping so the map motion is out of sync. Playing the motion now will show the model moving slower than the mapping. The mapping completes sooner as the model has automatically received far more frames representing the longer duration, which slows the motion. A simple refresh will bring the mapping back in sync. However, we previously made a number of adjustments to reflect the type of walk we were targeting, so we'll make some additional adjustments and apply them. As well, we want the motion to be slower still, so we'll take the entire interval and increase the duration. As well, there is too much arm swing in the walk, so we'll adjust this. With the walk the way we want it, let's add some additional strides. With the walk interval marked on the timeline, we'll copy the interval so that we can paste it. Positioning the cursor to the end, we can then paste the motion after the cursor. We'll do this one more time. With the map out of sync, we can see the effect of these additions. We'll save the map motion once again. We're also going to save this motion as a native file. This will allow us to retarget the motion to another humanoid character. Let's return to Blender now and apply this motion. With Abe still selected, we will select the Xarkin Editor import to apply the motion to our character. We'll select our motion sequence and apply it to Abe. And we'll now play the motion that Xarkin has created. We now have our slow, sad walk now working with Abe. The motion sequence we've created can be retargeted for use with another character. We'll add another Mixamo character to the stage, Timmy. We launch the editor once again. We've created a mapping for Timmy and we can simply proceed to the editor. Once in the editor, things will be simpler. All we have to do is apply the native copy of the motion sequence and we'll let Xarkin do the retargeting work. Once the motion has been generated, we can simply play the Xarkin Studio. After turning the mapping on, we can adjust the radius and transparency to have a better view of the motion. Once we're satisfied with the result, we'll save this as a map motion sequence for Timmy. Heading back to Blender, we import the motion sequence and we apply it to Timmy. Once applied, we now play the motion for both characters. Since they have different physiologies, the motion and the strides and the frames that are generated will be different and they will match the needs of the character. In our Sad Walk video, we showed how Xarkin Studio's physics-based motion models can be used to meet specific artistic goals through the simple modification of parameters. We'd also like to thank Adobe Mixamo for providing the characters used in the video.